Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, I like to discuss the steps people are taking to try and cope with the huge shortage of drivers in food distribution, as well as some of the updated consequences of these Brexit issues. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So it's a couple of days since I think I last talked about the lorry driver shortage. Has the government decided to do anything about it yet? No. Actually, as far as I could tell, they've announced that they'd rather we suffer food shortages than that they do anything that conflicts with their Brexit dogma, basically. The Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps, said, and I quote, "I do not support using foreign labour to tackle a long-standing issue in the haulage industry." So it's sort of two immediate responses, the first of which, okay, so what happened to global Britain? Also, if we don't like using foreign labour, why were our EU passports made by a British company, but our Brexit ones made by foreign ones? Why has the Prime Minister said that a foreign company will probably build our Brexit boat? Why are the Conservatives accepting all that Russian money? But the second thing is, although there are absolutely long-standing issues in the haulage industry, the problem right now is a crisis in the short term. In fact, in the now term, right now. You know, this isn't a problem coming our way. Why is he banging on about long-term problems? This isn't a problem coming our way for which we have time to look at long-term solutions that mean encouraging more domestic lorry drivers into the industry, for which the government are also not doing anything. We have very noticeable food shortages now. They're getting worse. And we're told by those who work the supply chain that they haven't even finished getting worse. A little bit of easing may happen with at the end of summer when there's less demand, but the problems are still there, so some shortages are still going to be there. And his comments are pointless because he's talking about long-term solutions for a critical problem that we've got right now. Right now, we can't get enough food to the shops. Right now, we're also hearing reports that councils are now struggling to deal with waste management. Reason? Refuse truck drivers have been lured away for more money for driving HGVs. See, you plug a gap in one place and you put pressure elsewhere. It's like, say, well, you pay these drivers. Well, yeah, great, absolutely. And we should anyway because the pay's rubbish. But all that's going to do is pull them from somewhere else. There are no solutions or even proposals coming from this government as to how they are going to deal with the problem, whether short or long term. I talked on Monday about the ludicrous concept of 2,000 HGV drivers from the army plugging the gap created by a shortage of 100,000 in the country. Well, it turned out to be even more ridiculous than that, because I was informed before the video went out, but too late to do anything about it, that the army don't actually have any HGVs. They haven't got lorries. So although they may have 2,000 drivers who are qualified to drive these lorries, they don't have the lorries. Now, you may imagine, as I did, well, they've got the qualifications. These soldiers from the Royal Logistics Corps, they'll drive around the HGVs that would normally be in service, but can't because we haven't got the drivers. But you would be wrong. They won't be allowed to drive those commercial lorries for reasons of confidence, insurance and reputation. I've been told in no uncertain terms the army will be using its own vehicles. And unless the government wants to buy them 2,000 lorries capable of the usual 23 tonnes worth of food, they will be using their own trucks that can manage a quarter of that payload. So straight away, that's now the equivalent of 500 drivers to replace the 100,000. Only that isn't where the futility ended, because they don't have the kit on board those trucks to quickly load and unload at distribution centres. So actually it will take longer. It'll all have to be done by hand, so it'll take ages. By the time you've worked out how much help the army will be able to provide in terms of HGV driver equivalents, from what I'm being told, you'll hardly notice any benefit at all. But benefit or not, using the army is neither a long-term solution nor even covering for the short term. We will still have shortages even with the army's help. The government just want others to solve their problems, which to me is fundamentally to misunderstand the purpose of the government. But then often that is the case between left and right wing of politics, isn't it? The right wing of politics wants small government, wants government not to get involved. I want government to get involved. Like if a business has a problem, sure, it's for that business to deal with it. If it's a huge business employing 50,000 people or something, yeah, okay, the government's going to get involved and say, well, can we help you at all? Because we don't want 50,000 people suddenly finding themselves on the job market. But generally speaking, if a business has a problem, deal with it. If an entire industry has a problem, that's the government's job to take the lead. But the only fight back is coming from others on an individual basis. Totally uncoordinated mess. There was an article in the Financial Times a week ago discussing the way some small shop owners were grasping the nettle themselves. There was an article talked about a fella from Coventry who was, had a small shop, couldn't get supplies in. So he got a van, was driving to Birmingham to bring in stock from the wholesaler who couldn't deliver it themselves. But that's not sustainable. That means a load of extra hours on top of actually running their business, and that'll be eaten into their quality family time. Has to be. They'll have probably put holidays off to do that. They can't do that long term. And they can only bring in so much as well. I actually noticed from the main photograph for the article, they seem to be bringing in an epic quantity of cans of lager. And I was thinking, amusing priority there. And then thought to myself, actually, maybe that is due to priorities, that lager might be one of the things that you'll struggle to get delivered because it's not actually as important as some things, if we're honest. But the article did explain that the shop owner said that there was one day where he just basically ran out of bread and milk. So he had to get in a van and just go and get some. So it seems to be, whatever they need on that particular time, he has to spend hours driving to go and get it. But the point is that the government can't blame businesses for not doing enough themselves. Yes, I'm sure there are some businesses who you'd look at them and you'd go, well, you could do this or you could do that. And it's something that's not occurring to them or is outside their skill set. Brexit in general has caused a lot of this. People were running businesses under certain market conditions and were coping. They were flourishing under those market conditions. If you change that market overnight in a drastic way as Brexit has, there will be some who just happen to have the skills and opportunities to manage. I've likened it in the past, I'll do it again, to like evolution. If you have a sudden environmental change, there will be some species, plants, animals, whatever, who will naturally be able to cope in the new environment by pure chance. And there will be some who don't. And the ones who don't have the ability to, the characteristics to, will die out. The government created this change in the market. They were told about the consequences, not unintended. Nothing that is happening now was not warned about in detail by people who understood the situation. The government is responsible for this, and the government should have planned for it. But they had deliberately avoided planning for it because that would have alerted to the public to the damage and impact of Brexit at a time when they still had the power to change our course. So they had to pretend that everything was going to be marvellous. Well, it isn't. It's really this simple. We have a critical shortage of drivers. Bugger the pandemic. Once the rules change next week, we'll still be stuck with a driver shortage that has got nothing to do with it. We need more drivers. And there are only three ways really to get them. One, you get the drivers that are willing to do the work and are not currently doing the work. That actually means changing our immigration policy, because where are they in the EU? Even if it's just the short term. If you say, well, we want to encourage more domestic drivers, fine, do that. But we don't have them now, and you can't get them now, so let's get them where we can. So for a short term, change the immigration policy. The government have expressly ruled this out. Yes, they often U-turn, and they may well U-turn, but for now they've ruled it out. So that's now leaving two potential sources of driver. So the second one is you get the drivers who are unwilling to do the work. Well, why are they unwilling? Because the pay and conditions are crap. So what are the government doing about that? Well, they've just made the conditions even crapper by extending driver hours. They've also effectively reduced pay because they're causing a lot of lorry drivers to get stuck in Dover. You don't get paid if the lorry's not moving anywhere. The government have done nothing to make the job look more appealing to those who were in the industry but left it because of either pay or conditions. On the contrary, they could actually be taking more drivers out of the equation, whether it's due to the extra workload or because they're driving tired and are being prosecuted for a crash. Or I suppose some are thinking to themselves, I'm driving tired, I don't fancy hurting someone or finding myself in the dock, so I'm just going to leave the industry before it happens. So now we're down to one option, the final option, and it's actually the only one the government actually shows any interest in, which is getting more domestic workers into the industry. Only there are a number of problems beyond the crap paying conditions, which they're doing nothing about. The first is it doesn't solve our short-term problem because it would take time to get 100,000 lorry drivers trained up. Even if you talk about the fact we've got about 20,000 in need of a test that are actually wanting to enter the industry and just need a test, that's still 20,000 out of 100,000. You know, the second issue is that the government isn't doing anything to encourage it. Now, if I were the Transport Minister, let's say I were the Transport Minister and I was working for a Prime Minister with an arse for a head, and I was told by them, we can't hire foreign drivers. I'm going, well, we ain't got the domestic ones yet. I'll work on getting the domestic ones, but we ain't got them yet. No. I would immediately work on a government-funded programme to train up a new generation of lorry drivers really quickly and demand that the Chancellor funded it, and not only that, provided subsidies for the industry in order to sweeten the pay deal. Because at the moment, it's all right putting on a load of government-funded training schemes. If you cannot attract young people into the industry, you're a little bit buggered. You know, I mean, the Tories don't like taxes, do they? Maybe key workers with critical shortages get to pay less tax or something, you know, to increase their take home. That increases their pay. Yeah, let's have nurses, lorry drivers, police officers paying less tax instead of the billionaires. But I would do something to actually bring about some change, because right now the government are doing nothing. They're doing nothing to ease the crisis in the short term. They're doing nothing to ease the crisis even in the long term. The fact that they're not doing anything in the short term means that won't be eased. It just won't be eased. Why would it? You know, demand will ease a little bit in September, I guess, after people stop going on staycations. Okay, but the problem's still there. And they're doing nothing to help in the long term, which means we have to wait for the market to correct itself. Over time, sure, the market will adjust. But after a shock to the system, the likes of which this country hasn't seen for centuries, I don't even know how many years that's going to take. Jacob Rees-Mogg said it would take 50 years, didn't he? I hope we get a better government before then. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.